Winter Soldier, episode 5, Truth and Not Justice. So, in our last episode, we're not going to call him, what's his name? His name was John, I believe. We're not going to call him Bootleg Captain America anymore because he's been relieved of those duties. So John, in the last episode, he ended up killing one of the masked people, and everybody saw it. It was broadcast all over America. So now, he's kind of like wigging out, because remember, he has the super soldier serum in the system. He's wigging out, he's trying to come to terms with what just happened. Sam and Bucky roll up on him, and they're just like, look, bro, you done fucked up. America saw it, and the whole world saw it. You're basically in trouble. They're just like, look, just surrender yourself quietly. And because of your 5-star record, because you're white, they'll, they'll give you a pass. You won't do any jail time, And then he was just like, oh, but the guy deserved what he got. And they were just like, first of all, that dude, he didn't even kill, he didn't even kill your boy, So you went after the wrong person. You basically that wasn't justice, that was vengeance. So they were just like, yo, just, it's like, you don't need no more heat on you. So just calm down. And surrender quietly and just let the government do what they got to do, and everything will be okay. Sam throughout this entire series has been very good at giving the hope speeches, the Captain America hope speeches. And he got through to John. So John started lowering his arms, and then Sam came out of nowhere and he was just like, another thing, bro. He's like, I'm gonna need you to give me the shield. And then that's when he was just like, I knew it. He's like, you almost had me, but this is what you wanted all along. You wanted the shield. You want to take this from me. He's like, you can't take this from me because I'm Captain America. And then he was just like, and then he was just like, trust me, you two don't want to do this. And Bucky was like, yeah, we do. And then Bucky punched him, and then the three of them, actually, they got into a fight. It wasn't on the level of Bucky and Cap versus Iron Man, but it was still a very good fight. During the fight, however, John actually, he ended up, knocking Bucky back a little bit, and Bucky was down for the count for a little bit. He fought Sam for a little bit, Sam did his thing. And then during the fight, John, again, because he has the super strength now, John basically used his super strength and broke the wings off of Falcon's costume. So now the Falcon has been grounded. So then him and Bucky teamed up on him. They ended up knocking him down. They knocked him out. They broke his arm. That's telling. The fact that they broke, because I made a prediction in the last episode. I said in the last episode that I feel like John shared half of the super soldier serum with his boy. And because Bucky and Falcon were able to break this dude's arm, that's kind of telling me he doesn't have the full serum in his system. And I honestly do feel like he did give half of it to his friend, because I don't think his friend is dead. So anyway, so they knock him out. So they knock him out, John's down for the count, both, Bucky and Sam, they're down, they're bloody. Bucky gets up, he picks up the shield, he takes the shield. Now, when he picked up the shield, I thought he was going to keep it for himself and then just walk away. He picks up the shield, he walks over to Sam, he throws the shield in front of Sam, and then he just looked at him like, okay, will you take this shit now and stop playing games? Then Sam picked up the shield. So the two of them go back to, I guess, the church or whatever it is that they were. They're trying to figure out, what the next moves are, because they were just like, yo, Carly's gone. Carly's gone, her whole squad is gone, and they have no way to find her. Your boy, Torres, he showed up, and then Torres was just like, yeah, he was like, the government, they're not happy about what happened. They're going to bring John in, for a court martial, and the government's going to take over this whole thing with this mass gang, the flag smashers, the whole flag smasher thing. So he's like, so the two of you are basically just gonna have to lay low, because there are no leads now. There's nothing to do until we have a lead, until we can go in. So, so then Bucky, he gets mad and he just walks away. And then, then Sam was just like, you gonna go get Zemo? And then he didn't answer him, and he just left. So then Torres and Sam are talking, Torres told him dead ass. He was just like, yo, until we find leads, ain't nothing we can, he said, there's nothing we can do but wait. So then he was just like, all right, fine. He was like, yo, you go do that. I got somebody I got to go talk to. Sam picks up the shield, and then he starts walking away. And then Torres noticed that he left the Falcon costume in on the table, because again, it's the backpack with the broken wings. And then Torres was just like, he was like, yo, what are you gonna do with the Falcon costume? And then he was just, then Sam looked at him, he's like, you might as well keep that shit. And then he walked away. And when he said that, I was like, what an odd thing to say, because there's nothing about Torres, unless I missed something in the first episode, there's nothing about Torres that would make you think Sam telling him to keep it was a legitimately good idea, unless Torres has some special mechanical knowledge that that I wasn't aware of. So my prediction is, I feel like Torres actually does have some engineering mechanical knowledge that I'm not aware of, or he knows someone that does. Torres is in the next episode, because the next episode is the season finale. Torres is gonna fix the damn wings. He's gonna find somebody to fix the damn wings, and then Torres is gonna show up at the end of battle, and he's gonna end up being the new Falcon. So Sam leaves. He goes and talks to Isaiah. He goes to Isaiah's house. I don't know why he went to Isaiah's house, but he wanted to talk to Isaiah because he was just like, he's like, help me understand, help me make sense of all this. And then Isaiah was telling him a story about how back in the day, he said, when he said that they gave a bunch of them different versions of the serum. And out of everybody, like he was the only person who had it and never had any problems. There was a moment where some of the other people who had the serum in their system, they got captured and they were behind enemy lines. Now, the government was just like, well, they're captured. The enemy has them. Let's just leave them for dead. But Isaiah was like, nah, he was like, those are my comrades in arms. Those are my brothers. He's like, so I'm going to save them. So he disobeyed orders. He went down, he busted up the camp, and he saved all of the soldiers. And when he's telling the story, I'm like, this sounds oddly familiar. It basically echoes the situation in Captain America, the first movie, when Captain America went behind enemy lines. Him and Peggy went behind enemy lines to go save, Captain Buchanan Barnes and all the other soldiers from the camp. The only difference was after Steve Rogers saved all of those people, he got the honor medal from the president. He got ranked as a captain. He got put in the war, and he got sent to go fight the war overseas. When Isaiah saved all of his people, they basically locked him up in the basement and started running experiments on him. So he was and he felt like obviously the government betrayed him. And then as soon as Sam came in and he had the shield in his hand because he had it in a bag, Isaiah was just like, Isaiah looked over. He's like, yo, don't bring that shit over. He's like, don't bring that stars and stripes bullshit over here. And then he was just like, yo, you think, he was like, then Sam was just like, oh, but people need to hear your story. And then he was like, why do you think that? He was like, if people know my story, they're going to come for me. And he was just like, yo, I don't want to have anybody come. He said, let everybody think I'm dead. He was, he said, the only reason why I'm even alive now is because one of the nurses that was taking care of me, who I fell in love with, she helped me escape. And then, she passed, and then, she unfortunately passed away. And then he was upset because, he really loved her. So he said, let the world think that I'm dead because if the world knows I'm alive, then people are going to come back. They're going to try to do more experiments. It's going to be a media circus, and I don't want to deal with that. And then he was just like, so why are you here, Sam? Sam told him, he was just like, I'm just trying to figure all this out, trying to figure out what to do. He was like, he said, I know people. He's like, I'm an Avenger. It's like, I know politicians. He was like, we should bring you to the forefront. People need to hear your story. And then he was just like, fool. He said, if you think the world changed like that, then you blind. And he said, you think because you fought for them, because you fought behind enemy lines with them, because you fought for their country, because you carry that white man shield. He said, you think that earns you something? He said, you think that gives you a seat at the table? And then he looked at him with those bitter old black man eyes, and he was like, they ain't never gonna let a black man be Captain America. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, pretty much. I feel like I said that in the first episode review, or at least when Isaiah first showed up. I was like, they ain't never gonna let no black man be no Captain America. And then and then he was like, I don't know no black man who would want to be Captain America, because if you black and you want to hold that shield, you's a motherfucking fool and you's a turncoat and a traitor. And then Sam kind of felt bad. And then Sam got up and he walked away, because he felt bad. He was like, he called his sister and he was like, yo, I'm coming home. Bucky now, he basically he was following Zemo's trail. Zemo flew all the way back to Markovia, and he went to go see like the gravesite for his daughter, for his father, his wife, and his son. So while he was at their gravesite, Bucky showed up, and then after that, Zemo was just like, oh, he's like, oh, Mr. Barnes, he's like, I've decided to cross your name off the list. I'm not going to kill you. He said, because unlike the rest of them, he said, you were forced, you were brainwashed. He's like, they made you into their weapon. He's like, you are not their weapon. So he was just like, I've decided not to kill you. And then Bucky was just like, well, that makes one of us. And then he pulled out the gun. He put the gun to Zemo's head, and then Bucky actually did pull the trigger, but the gun was empty. And then, he basically was just like, he said, I'm not the Winter Soldier anymore. I'm not a killer anymore. He's like, so the right thing to do is, he blew the whistle, and then Wakanda in the house, Wakanda showed up. He turned Zemo over to Wakanda, and then, they had him, and they were just like, we would take him to the fridge, and then he would live out the rest of his days in the fridge. No, the raft. They said, no, she said the raft. She was like, yeah, we would take him to the raft where he would live out the rest of his days behind prison in exile for killing King T'Chaka. And then she told him, she was just like, it would also be wise, White Wolf, for you to never return to Wakanda again for the short future. And he was just like, all right, he's like, I got that, but I just need you to do me one more favor before you exile me from Wakanda. So now John gets his court martial from America, and they were just like, oh, because of what you've done. Because the thing about it is, the government didn't care that he killed that dude overseas. The government didn't care, and like someone said, she was just like, if anything, they would prefer you just plowed the road and killed them all. But the problem was he got caught. He got busted. Like he was on television. Like he was on social media. He became a meme. Like that. That's the problem. So now it's like, because everybody saw you, the government has to do something, about it now to save face. So they stripped him of his rank. They stripped him of his title, and then they were just like, oh, you will be dishonorably discharged, and they said that once you've been discharged, you will hold no financial gain, no money. You will receive no benefits from the U.S. government. And as soon as he said that, they put the camera on his girlfriend, and I was like, that's fucked up. And John gets mad. He walks out the room. His wife is talking to him, and then all of a sudden, like, this white chick shows, this random white chick, and she was just like, oh, she's like, we know that you have the serum in your system. And she was like, honey, nobody blames you for what you did. But she's just like, here, take my card, which didn't have a name on it. She's like, take my card. She's like, we'll keep in touch. She said, I think me and you, we can do some business. I don't know who this woman is. She said her name was Valerie, but she said, don't call her Valerie because she's, there's more to that. I see where this is going. And this whole thing was just for Valerie to introduce herself. And then, like I said, Valerie walked away. John then went to go to his boys, his parents' house, like his parents' house, to tell his parents what had happened. And then his parents was just like, oh, the mom was like, oh, like my son was so proud of you when you became Captain America. And we're happy to know that you ended up getting justice for the man who murdered our son. And I was like, yeah, really rubbing that in, because he actually didn't get justice for the man who murdered their son because he killed the wrong person. The person that he has to kill is Carly, because Carly's the one that killed him. So he flat out lied to the man's parents. He straight up just lied to her, to the entire family about what really happened. He's gonna end up like going undercover, because like I said, he got court martial from America, but he needs to get like actual revenge, on Carly for killing his friend. So he went, so after that, so like he left, he said goodbye to the parents, and then he went to work to go do his thing. Sam was back at the boat. He's chilling at the boat. He's talking to his sister. His sister was just like, oh, nobody wants to buy the boat, but then Sam was just like, look, he was like, first of all, everybody in this goddamn neighborhood owes our parents something for everything that our parents did for them throughout the course of their lives. He's like, yo, it's time. He said, in the words of James Brown, it's time for the big payback. So they called the entire neighborhood. The whole neighborhood came together, and Sam got the entire neighborhood to help him and his sister fix his parents' boat. While they were fixing the boat, Bucky showed up, and then the two, Bucky helped them fix the boat as well. So they're all fixing the boat. Everybody having a conversation. Everybody talking. Sam and Bucky ended up talking. They, at that point, Sam was practicing, with Cap's shield. Bucky and Sam had a nice conversation about the shield, and Bucky basically apologized because he was just like, I was giving you a hard time about being Captain America, but I didn't understand like what it meant for like a black man to actually take the mantle, and I didn't understand why it was so difficult for you to accept it and why you didn't want to accept it. He's like, so for that I apologize. And then he thanked each other. The two of them had a little quirky back and forth conversation, and then Bucky was just like, look, I'm gonna leave you to it. Go do what you gotta do your training, but when something pops off, when you find a lead on Carly, when shit goes down, he was like, yo, call me, I'm gonna be there. So then Bucky leaves, and then Sam stays, and they do the montage of Sam doing the Captain America training. They showed him dropping the shield, throwing the thing, and it was going into the ocean. Like him doing his push-ups, him training, trying to be the next Captain America. So he does the damn thing. He had a conversation with his sister. His sister was just, his sister told him, she was like, listen, she was like, yo, the family will be okay, but she was like, the world needs you, the world needs Falcon, the world needs Sam Wilson, so go out there and protect the world. Carly now, her whole people, they're, like I said, because her friends died, she was upset, she was angry, and she was hell-bent on getting revenge and completing her mission once and for all. There was a moment where when she actually sat and she thought about all the people that she killed, that were killed, when she thought about all her friends, all of her comrades that got killed, she gonna then get mad and be like, oh, she's like, how many of us must die before this country takes us seriously as citizens of the world? And I'm like, bitch, welcome to the struggle. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, now all of a sudden, I'm like, ain't nobody shut it. See, this is why I'm glad her and Sam are the ones having conversations. So whenever her redheaded white ass starts talking about how she's been oppressed, Sam's right there to be like, bitch, please. And I'm looking forward to the season finale for Carly and Sam to finally have that confrontation. But what's happening now is the governments of the world, they're in New York City, and they're having a conference about what to do with all the refugees and what to do about the flag smashers. So, you know, they're just like, one person's like, oh, we should just round them up. And then one person's like, we're not doing that. They're arguing. And then all of a sudden the lights go out because Carly and the entire flag smasher crew, they're all in New York City, and they're going to take down that summit because they don't trust what the government's going to do to them to decide their fate. So they just basically going to kill everybody and plow the road. You know, Sam got the call. He was watching the TV. He saw that shit was going down in New York City. Obviously, he going to call Bucky. You know, Sharon popped up for 2 seconds. For what reason, I don't know. The favor that Bucky had asked of Wakanda, he asked Wakanda to basically make something for him. Whatever they made for him, I mean, we all know what they made him, but whatever they made for him, they put it in a case. Bucky gave the case to Sam, and then when Sam realized he was going to go to New York to try to stop Carly, he opened the case, and then that's how the credits rolled, and that's how the show ended. So clearly, now that Sam actually has the shield, and because he has a brand new shiny costume, this is the moment where he takes over as Captain Falcon, Falcon America, the new Captain America, whatever you want to call him. He's going to be that person in the season finale. He's going to have the costume. Who knows if he'll have wings, but we all know his boy Torres is going to end up with the Falcon wings because he's going to be the new Falcon. Winter Soldier's going to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if Zemo somehow escaped from Wakandan security, and then he ends up running away to become the villain of season 2. I have no idea what role Sharon plays in all this, but I do promise you, if Carly does not survive the season finale, it's going to be because she killed herself. But if she does survive, then maybe Falcon, because the girl still got serum in her system, so maybe Falcon can like wheel her over to, you know, like to the good side, because I see that they're like putting little sprinkles in on this whole like Young Avenger thing. Who knows? Carly might be a part of that team as well. So that was it, and thank you for tuning in. Leave your comments below. Let me know how you think because again, we only getting 6 episodes. This is episode 5. Next week is the season finale. Let me know how you think the season finale is gonna go. Let me know what do you think Sam outfit's gonna look like? What happens at the end? Who stays? Who dies? Who comes back, who returns, and do we get a cameo from any other members of the Avengers team, whether it's Shuri or an old Captain America? Leave a comment below and we'll talk about it. Check me out on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, always on YouTube, where I reply back to all questions, comments, and concerns, because I love all the superhero stuff and I love having these discussions. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Until the season finale for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm out this bitch.